Oh my god.
Zilla.
I just. It is not an exaggeration for me to say that the last 5 years of my life have been building to this night. It has. Ever since Godzilla 2014, my life has been down one course, and that is leading me here. This movie, like, I don't even know how to like put it into context for people. This movie really did change my life forever. It did. I mean, Godzilla 2014, I owe so much to that movie because that movie is what set me down this course. That movie is what reinvigorated my love for Godzilla because I've always loved Godzilla. But it was seeing 2014 in theaters that made me really go, okay, this isn't something that I love. This is something that I'm obsessed with. It was that moment for me. And that was what led me to do my first videos on this channel, and it has all been building to this. Godzilla vs. Kong, I could say the same thing about that. I could have said the same thing about Shin Godzilla, and I could have said the same thing about Kong Skull Island, but none of that's true. With Shin Godzilla, that one kind of came out of nowhere. There was no way I could have anticipated that that would come out when I started this channel, because it just kind of came out of nowhere. With Kong Skull Island, it's the same. It was like that wasn't announced when I started this channel. It wasn't a concept, so there was no way I could have known about it. Or at the very least, if Kong Skull Island was a concept, it was not part of the MonsterVerse yet. There was no MonsterVerse yet. It was something incredibly different, and it was all in its early stages, and it needed to be formed into what it is today. And here we are. We are at the point where I always wanted to get to, and that was Godzilla 2. The movie that we should have gotten a year ago, right? We should have gotten it a bit ago, but I'm glad we didn't because it was worth it. If they needed the time, they needed the time. The past 5 years of my life have been building to this one moment, and it was worth it. I do not regret waiting. I do not regret the countless hours I have put into this movie. I just seriously, like, there's no way to even conceptualize how much time I've spent talking about, theorizing about, doing whatever for this movie, whether it's learning songs from the soundtrack on piano, buying the figures, those guys, whatever. There's no way to conceptualize how much time I've realistically spent on this movie. It has consumed my life, and it was worth it. It was. This is a reaction review. I'm not going to go in full depth and review the movie. I really would have done a full in-depth non-spoiler review, which will come out tomorrow, technically today, May 31st. I would have done a non-spoiler, spoiler-free review, but I met this really weird guy, Chris, at the theater. Guy would just, he would not let me leave. I don't even know how to like describe him to you, but I got caught up in a conversation with this guy not letting me leave, and so I wound up wasting an hour after the movie. Obviously, I'm kidding. It was really a crazy experience for me to go into Godzilla King of the Monsters, sit down in the theater, hear people talking about this franchise that I love, that I'm so associated with, and know what they're talking about. It was crazy. The guys behind me talking about Godzilla vs. Destroyer, it was a bit of a rowdy group that borderline did their best to ruin the experience, although it didn't. There was certain moments when I appreciated their enthusiasm. We'll talk a little bit more about it in my review, but there were certain moments when I appreciated their enthusiasm, and there were certain moments when I didn't. That's what I'll say. But it was crazy going into the theater and like being surrounded by Godzilla fans and just the energy in the room. It was crazy having someone come up to me and say, "Hey, I watch your videos all the time. You're D-man." It's crazy. I think that's the second or third time that's happened, but this time was like the first time that I've ever talked to the person, other than at school where people would bump into me and be like, "Hey, you're D-man," and you know, they'd find my channel in various ways. There's been a few times when I've been at the movies and someone has been like, "Hey, you're D-man." One time was at Shin Godzilla, I think, and the guy didn't really talk to me. He just kind of shouted at me from across the room. Another time was at Kong Skull Island when someone sat next to me, didn't tell me he was a fan, just DM'd me on Instagram afterward to let me know. And this time, I gotta give you a shout out. My guy Kane coming over, not only saying hi, introducing himself, but also taking a picture with me afterward. That's awesome. Thank you so much. It is truly a humbling experience. So I hope you're watching this video. I hope you appreciate the shout out, man. I appreciate you coming and saying hi. That's the thing. If you see me at one of these movies, I'm gonna be at Godzilla King of the Monsters. I'm not gonna say where, but I will say I will be at a 7:15 IMAX showing of the movie. If you see me, I will either be wearing this bright yellow Invasion of Astro Monster jacket, or I'll be wearing that dark black Godzilla King of the Monsters hoodie, so I probably won't stick out that much in that one. But if you see someone wearing this at a 7:15 IMAX showing, please come say hi to me. I would really appreciate it. It'd be awesome. So it was cool to meet Kane there. That was awesome. And then, yeah, Chris, Goji fan. I have no idea why he was there, but he was. Him and I just happened to wind up in the same theater together at the same time. Like, what are the odds of that happening? That is crazy. Chris and I, we wound up talking about the movie for a long time after. We didn't just talk about Godzilla 2. We talked about other things, but we talked about Godzilla for a long time after. I feel really bad. His girlfriend had to sit there and wait while we did it. We took like an hour. My brothers had to sit there and wait. They had to talk to each other and be like, well, when are we gonna leave? And then she was in the same boat. So I appreciate it. She was a good sport about it, and my brothers were too. I mean, I know I'm not really talking about the movie in this because it's kind of a reaction review. There's not too much that I can say at the moment because I'm still formulating my thoughts. I won't say it's a perfect movie because I do have 2 flaws with it that I will get more into in my reviews, but essentially the way they treat certain characters is like shocking. That's what I'll say for this. It's really going to be difficult for me to talk about it anywhere but the spoiler review. There is one character that what they do with that character just blows my mind, kind of in a bad way. Like, I think that was a bit unceremonious what happens with this character. Some of you may already know who I'm talking about. Some of you may think you know who I'm talking about, but you don't. I don't know. The other thing I will say is that Kyle Chandler's character, Mark Russell, is just too perfect. He literally can do everything. He knows everything. He's the smartest one in the room at all times by like leaps and bounds. I would have preferred that to be Serizawa, in my opinion. That would have been better, is if Serizawa strolled in and he just knew everything. He had all the answers. But Serizawa is like, Mark, what do we do? Like, Serizawa is even like, guy, we need your help. I mean, it makes sense. Makes sense why they'd pull him back in. Overall, we'll just give quick overall thoughts. Overall, I loved it. I loved Godzilla King of the Monsters. It had a perfect blend, in my opinion, between the human and kaiju story. There is, I've seen a lot of complaints online about way too much kaiju screen time. The hell were you talking about? That was perfect. They did it so well. I thought it was a really neat new idea, new angle that they took with it that we don't really get to see much of in Godzilla movies. And that is essentially the whole story is told from the ground perspective. Gareth Edwards does a lot of that in Godzilla 2014 as well, but I don't think it feels the same. There's a totally different feel to it between what Gareth Edwards did, which is a more realistic version of what would happen if giant monsters were fighting, I assume, versus what we see in this movie. But I think the way they do it in this movie feels so new and unique that I loved it. I really did. I loved the whole ground perspective idea with the Godzilla fights. And it's kind of funny because that is the idea that Gareth was going for, and I think he achieved it perfectly. But there's something between the difference in execution between the way they did it in 2014, the way they did it in 2019, that I just like the 2019 version a little better. The music was amazing. We already knew the soundtrack was awesome. I'll get more into it in the spoiler-free review, but the soundtrack is great. The songs that I didn't really like on the soundtrack, I thought worked perfect in context of the film. I just think it's amazing. There is a lot to love with that. The special effects were incredible. This is one of the first movies in a while that there's only like 1 or 2 shots in the whole movie that I thought looked like they needed to be polished, I guess. But for the most part, like, there's no bad green screen, which is really refreshing. Holy cow, that is a nice feeling to not have any bad green screen. That is great. And the CG is really impressive. There's a lot of it that just looks incredible. I don't know if it beats any of the mid section of Shin Godzilla, that whole section where Godzilla resurges, I guess, when he comes on land all the way to the atomic breath. That might be the best CG in Godzilla history. It's just incredible. Best special effects in Godzilla history. It looks so real. That being said, though, this movie, it is incredible. The special effects look great. They really do. Everything in this movie looks great. Cinematography is amazing. I will say the fight scenes are a bit chaotic. You gotta really kind of pay attention to what's happening because it's very fast paced and the camera will not settle down, so you're always going on this journey. I thought that was great as well. It gave it a lot of dynamic motion, and I will talk a bit more about it in the full review, but I thought it was really refreshing in a Godzilla movie. It was something new that we haven't seen before, which is what I'm all about nowadays. Shin Godzilla, love it because it's new. We haven't seen it before. And I'm not just saying if it's new, I'm gonna like it automatically, because they can do new stuff that I dislike, like having Godzilla shoot a laser from his tail. That's stupid, and I don't like it. I will never like that. But I do like them trying new things out, and that's one thing that I really liked with the anime, is the way they treated Ghidorah. Incredibly different than what we've seen before, and yet I still thought it was amazing. And I know that is a horribly unpopular opinion, but whatever. You can berate me about it in the comment section. I don't care. As for this movie's portrayal of the kaiju, that will be where we wrap this short reaction review up. They did a great job. Godzilla he is the king of the monsters. Yeah, Godzilla's awesome. I really don't know how Kong stands a chance at all. You guys know I'm on Team Kong, which really upsets you guys for some reason, but I mean, there is gonna have to be some really crazy plot reasons for why Kong is able to stand up toe-to-toe with Godzilla after this one, because holy cow. Mothra was the standout in my opinion. Everything with Mothra was great in this movie. I was disappointed that she doesn't have a lot of screen time. She actually has the least screen time of any of the monsters, and it's noticeable because she's amazing. Anytime she's on screen, I just want more of her. Give me a Mothra solo movie, please. It will be great. I promise you guys that if you're not a Mothra fan, after this movie, you will at least be a fan of this version of the character. I mean, my dad hates Mothra. He's like, it's a big bug, but I think even he was like, wow, she throws down in this movie. Also, I want to say, I think it's hilarious. Godzilla is just done at the start of this movie. He's just like the movie begins and he's already wiping his hands clean of it. He's like, I don't want anything to do with this, so let's just wrap this up. He is just going for it in this movie. That is awesome to see. Just a really pissed off version of Godzilla. That's really cool. And he's not pissed off at humans. He's just pissed at Ghidorah. He's like, I want this guy dead. What can I do to make that happen? And it's really cool to see. Rodan, I think he's a little bit shortchanged. I mean, my brother said the same thing. My oldest brother, he was like, yeah, Rodan, they could have done more with him. And I'm surprised because Michael Dougherty loves Rodan. He's talked about that a lot, but I think it's because the trailers showed way too much Rodan to where there was really nothing new with him. So that was a big problem, is that the trailers did show way too much of that character. And then Ghidorah, kind of the same problem. I didn't think Ghidorah was going to be my standout because that's kind of what I expected. I mean, that might sound a little weird, but like when I went into the movie going, oh, Ghidorah's going to be amazing, and then he was amazing, it was like, oh, Ghidorah. It was exactly what I wanted. Whereas Mothra was like, I don't know what to expect with Mothra, and it blew me away. She was awesome. But Ghidorah, he was a badass in this movie. I love the different personalities in the heads. It's hilarious. The middle head keeps like picking on the left head. It's great. I love it. And then I think he's just the scale. You really feel how big he is. I really feel that he's not part of the natural order. He is something to fear, and it's cool. It's really cool. And that's all I'm gonna say for this one, is that like overall, I thought it was an awesome movie. The wait was well worth it. I'm not gonna rate it here, but I will definitely say go check this movie out. You look at the Rotten Tomatoes. I'm gonna pull it up because it's hilarious. Looking at the Rotten Tomatoes, and it has gone down a lot. You look at the critic ratings, and there is now 148 critics, and they have rated it collectively a 41%. They did not like the movie. You know who did? The general public. It's currently sitting at a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. Who cares what the critics say? The people loved this movie because it's awesome. There's so much to love. The first thing that I said when the movie ended was, there's people that don't like this? How? I don't understand how you don't like this movie. It's so cool. Is it the deepest Godzilla movie ever? No, but I actually think that a lot of the themes it went for, I think it handled those pretty well. It could have been more subtle, but it didn't really need to be or have the time to be. I'm just saying, this movie is a freaking banger. Go check it out. It really is good. I really liked it. Is it my favorite Godzilla movie ever? No, it's not. I still like the original best. I still like King Kong vs. Godzilla more because of nostalgic reasons. Is it one of my favorites? Probably, because it is. There's a lot to love here. I feel like there's so much more that I want to say, but I'm really tired. It's late. I've done so many videos today. I've got things to do in the morning. It's just a busy time in my life, so I'm going to end it here. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. D-Man, out.